Hey everybody, a few years ago I thought the plan was really simple. My wife and I would spend part of our time in America, part of our time in Thailand, build our businesses we have together, enjoy both countries, and kind of have the best of both worlds. That was the plan, but lately I've been asking myself a question. I honestly never thought I'd ask myself this. Does it even make sense to go back to the USA right now? And I don't mean that in some melodramatic way. I'm not saying America's terrible and Thailand's perfect. That's not true by any means. But when I look at the cost of living, the stress, the immigration situation, especially, the uncertainty, and then I compare that to what our life looks like here in Thailand, it starts getting harder and harder to ignore and to justify going back. So in this video, I'm just going to talk honestly with you guys about where my head is at, give you things to think about. This isn't a financial advice. It's not immigration advice. This is just one regular guy, one couple trying to figure out the smartest path forward. I think a lot of people my age, especially if you're retired or close to retirement, are probably asking themselves some of these exact same questions. Before I get into it, I'll mention this real quick. If you're seriously thinking about moving to Thailand, retiring here, visiting long term, or you just want to talk through what the real day to day life looks like, I do offer one on one consulting, and the calls can be booked through ricksadventurestv.com. I'm not here to tell you a dream. I'll tell you the good, the bad, the truth, the things people usually do not think about until they're already here. There's a link in the description if that's something you want to look at. Now let's get into the real conversation and what this video is actually about. Originally, I thought the USA was still going to be our main base for T and I have a home there. I have a large shop building. I have lots of tools. I have business ideas. I had plans for media consulting, which I've started doing, and maybe some automotive work because I used to do a lot of nostalgia racing. Tia talked about doing some import and exporting from Thailand, like Thai coffees. It made plenty of sense on paper because the idea is I could earn American dollars, build something in the USA, and then that money would go a lot farther when we were living in Thailand. That's a very powerful and true idea. If you can earn money in the USA and spend part of the time in Thailand, it can be a really very good setup. But the problem is life doesn't always work out as clean as it looks on paper. You start adding up all the homeowners insurances, business, utilities, vehicle costs, property costs, maintenance, travel expenses, grocery, fuel, you get it, everything else. All of a sudden, the America plan starts looking a lot heavier, like a real monkey on your back. And that's before you even start to bring the immigration issues into it that we've had. The big thing that changed for T and I was uncertainty. When you're trying to plan your life between two countries, uncertainty becomes a really big deal. It's hard to build a business plan, a retirement plan, or even a simple travel plan when you don't know what the government's going to do next. My wife and I have followed the immigration process for a green card. We've tried to do the things the right way. We've spent the money, gathered the documents, spent 2 years going through this, appointments, and we're still sitting here with unanswered questions and police reports and medicals that will retire in several months we'll have to redo. So when your spouse cannot travel freely with you, that changes a lot of things. It changes my viewpoint drastically. I'm not interested in going back to the States for months and leaving my wife behind in Thailand while I work there. This is not why we got married. This is not the life we decided we were going to try to build. So now the question becomes very different for us. It's not just where can I make the most money? The question becomes where can we actually live together with the least stress and the best quality of life? And that's a very different question than what we were facing in the beginning. Now let's talk about some cost of living reality check. America is just flat expensive. Everybody knows that. But when you actually sit down and look at the numbers, it can hit you like a ton of bricks. Even if your house payment is low or rent, you still have insurance, taxes, utilities, vehicle repairs, fuel, food, internet, phones, medical costs. all these little things that don't seem like much until you add them up and see they cost 2 to 3 times as much in the USA. And if you're retired, that makes a big darn difference. When you're younger and working full time, maybe you just grind through it. But when you're living on retirement income, pension incomes, side gigs you do, Social Security, savings, or small businesses, every monthly bill matters. Here in Thailand, our basic life is simply lighter. We're not rich here. We're not living some fantasy luxury life like you see many try to show on YouTube. But the pressure's different here. The house situation is better for us. Day-to-day food costs are extremely low. We live a very decent life without feeling like every month is a battle against bills. That doesn't mean Thailand's free, because it definitely isn't. You still have electricity, especially if you use air conditioning, which you will. Visa costs matter, healthcare planning matters, excuse me, travel costs matter. If you eat Western food every day, feel like you have to do that at restaurants, it can get expensive fast. But if you live more like a normal Thai person, you already have a place to live, the monthly pressure can be a lot lower. And that is a very, very big deal. So what are some of the things that Thailand gives us? The biggest thing Thailand gives us right now is a lot of breathing room. That's the best way I can describe it. In the States, I feel like I have more opportunity to earn, but I also have more pressure. In Thailand, I may not have the same business opportunities right in front of me like my shop building and tools, but I have more time to think, more space, less financial pressure, more time with my wife, more ability to focus on content planning, and building something that I can utilize online. And for us, Thailand is not just a vacation place. This is my wife's home, and we have a life here. We have a house here, we have many friends, we have routines. We like going to the different markets. We eat normal food we buy. We cook out almost every day. We take care of things around the house. We have a real life here. It's different than being on a 2-week vacation on the beach and saying, wow, Thailand is cheap. Living here is not the same as visiting here. Some days are great, some are frustrating, some days are hot. Some days you deal with language issues, paperwork, banking, transportation, or just normal life problems. But overall for us, the stress level is dramatically lower. And at this stage in life, that counts a lot for me. I can tell you what Thailand's not going to fix. Now, I want to be very clear about something. Moving to Thailand doesn't magically fix your life. If you're broke in the USA, you're going to be broke in Thailand if you don't have a plan. You can still be broke no matter where you're at in the world. If your marriage has problems, Thailand's not going to fix that. If you need constant entertainment, luxury, and Western conveniences, Thailand's probably going to be a very big disappointment to you. If you don't understand the visas, healthcare, money management, and cultural differences, you can really get yourself into a lot of trouble here, guys. I see a lot of people online selling this big dream. They make it look like you can just land here, eat cheap food, sit by the beach, beautiful women around you, and all your problems magically disappear. This isn't reality. This is bullshit. Thailand can make life easier in many ways, but you still need discipline, income, savings, and purpose. And that's one thing I don't think that a lot of people talk to you about enough. If you retire overseas, you still need something to do. You need a reason to get up in the morning, and that's not to go get drunk at the bar. For me, that is part of what Rick's Adventures is about. It gives me something to build. It gives me a reason to film, learn, share, and connect with other people who are asking the same question. And I like that because I want to see people be successful and make educated choices if they decide to come over here. So let's talk about the emotional side of some of these decisions. The hardest part of that is not just the math. It's pretty easy to put it in. You put the numbers in a spreadsheet and compare the cost of living, compare the income, and make the choice. But life is just not about numbers. In the USA, I have many memories. I have my home. I have my shop I like to work in. I have many things that I've worked for very hard my whole life. And I had an idea of what I thought life was going to be for T and I. And it's not easy to look at all that and say, maybe this doesn't make sense anymore. This is a hard thing to admit because sometimes you're not just deciding where to live. You're deciding what version of your life you're willing to let go of. Are you ready to close that part and open a new chapter in life? It's the part nobody talks about. People say, just sell everything and move. Sounds so simple. What's your problem? But when you have worked your whole life, when you have built things, collected things, dreamed about certain businesses or project, it's really not that simple. And I do understand it because I go through that myself. At the same time, holding on to things can become its own trap. You don't want things to control your life. You can keep a house, a shop, vehicles, tools, and projects because they represent who you are as an individual, but they might not actually serve the life you need now. And that's the part I'm wrestling with, and many people that retire and move overseas wrestle with. It's not that easy just to sell everything and walk away. Let's talk about the USA side of things. I don't want this to sound like I hate the USA because I absolutely do not. America gave me opportunities I could never have had elsewhere. I worked there, I built a good life there, and I still see so many opportunities for Tia and I there in the States. It was only thinking about, if I was only thinking about business, America still has so many advantages for Tia and I. There's more customers, more tools, more infrastructure, more ways to make money if you're really willing to really work at it. And the other thing is your money is worth almost 3 times as much what you earn there. So this is why the decision's hard. If Tia could travel freely with me, if immigration was simple, if costs were lower, and if everything felt very stable, I might look at this completely differently, but that's not the reality we're dealing with right now. The reality is that the USA feels extremely expensive, it feels very uncertain, and it's stressful just trying to manipulate what we have to do with immigration. And Thailand, while it's not perfect, right now it's feeling much more manageable for us. We just don't feel the pressures as much whenever we're here. Our biggest things to deal with are maybe some days are extremely hot, or the rainy season, or just certain little nuances you run into that might be a little aggravating. But for the most part, it's just some really simple general life type things. So this is something you really have to think about too. Where do those pressures lie? And is it worth keeping those pressures? Are you going to see something that actually produces from them? Is it worth it? Or is a different quality of life worth a little bit less in some ways? So here's the real question, the elephant in the room. Is Thailand better than the USA? That's just too simple. That's not a good question, because the real question is where can we build the best life with the least amount of stress, the most freedom, and the most realistic path forward to be successful? For some people, that's going to be the USA. For some people, that's going to be Thailand. For some people, it might be splitting time between both. For Tia and I right now, I'm honestly just not 100% sure yet. But I am starting to understand the smartest choice may not be the one that I expected. And that is why I really wanted to make this video, because I know there are bound to be other people out there who are close to retirement or already retired, looking at their bills, looking at the directions things are going, and wondering if there's another way to live, a better way to live. Maybe you're not thinking about Thailand. Maybe like me, I consider places like the Philippines, Mexico, Panama, Vietnam, or sometimes other places. But the question is always the same. How do you create a life where your money goes further, your stress is low, you're happy, every day you wake up and you actually feel worth living? That's what the real conversation is and topic of this is. So you need to really do some soul searching on this and think about things and weigh them out. If you have to, get a piece of paper, write down the pros and cons, and try to be proactive about what you're doing, because I guarantee you, if you really think hard about it, list things out, you'll come to the right decision. All right, guys, in closing, this is kind of where I'm at right now. I'm not saying that Tia and I have made a final decision. I'm not saying everyone should leave America, and I'm definitely not saying Thailand is perfect, because it certainly isn't. But I am saying this, at this point in my life, I care more about peace and stability and time with my wife than having things, keeping things that just because I own them. That's a tough thing to say, but it's true. So now I want to hear from you guys. If you're in my position or a similar position, would you keep your house and shop building in America and try to make that work? Or would you simply just sell everything and make Thailand the main base? Because I can still keep my limited liability companies in the States and operate them from any location in the world. So leave me something in the comments and talk to me. I like hearing from you, and I always try to answer all comments and get back with you as soon as I see them. If you're new here to this channel, it's about real life retirement in Thailand, travel, and trying to make smart decisions in a world that really doesn't always make sense, at least not to me. You guys, if you want to and you're interested in consulting, go to www.ricksadventurestv.com, and I got a sign up page there. And thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Be careful, be safe, take care.